Hello friends, I welcome you all to my channel I Use the Filmy Bookworm, and today I'm going to review the much talked about Laal Singh Chaddha, directed by Advait Chandan and starring Amir Khan, Kareena Kapoor Khan, Manav Vij, Mona Singh, Chaitanya Kineni and many others. Now at the very onset, let me give you a disclaimer. I'm not comparing this film to the original film, which is Forrest Gump, a classic, a Hollywood classic released in the 90s. And neither am I going to talk about the latest controversy which has surrounded the film and unfortunately has resulted in the film's overall failure at the box office. But I'm going to dissect the film as it is, and I'll tell you what I liked about the film without any comparisons and what I didn't like much about the film. So, Laal Singh Chaddha begins on a very interesting note. A person is traveling by train, and he suddenly starts talking to his fellow passengers about his life. His name is Laal Singh Chaddha, and he basically talks about his life's journey from a dyslexic child to a Jawan in the army to an entrepreneur, and many other facets, many other known and not so well known incidents and happenings around him. So this is what the story is all about, because the story is quite layered and quite complex, so it cannot be narrated like many other movies. Now what I liked about the film is that certain portions of the film have been directed really well by director Advait Chandan. Particularly like the way he weaved different incidents which shaped our country at large, right from the World Cup win, the famous cricket World Cup win in 1983, to the Babri Masjid demolition, to the famous Rath Yatra which happened in the late 80s, and many other incidents have been weaved very nicely into the narrative. There are certainly some really moving scenes in the film which has elevated the film from an ordinary film to definitely a superior one. There's no two ways about that. There is a scene where Mona Singh, who is playing Laal Singh Chaddha's mother, is speaking to little Lal about how he should, take care of himself, and there's no work or there's no job in the world which he cannot do, and instilling the confidence in him. That scene is really moving. At least it was very touching for me. I could relate to it immediately. There are a few scenes during Lal's days at the army camp, and there are scenes with his lady love Rupa, played by Kareena Kapoor Khan, which are really moving and has been directed and handled extremely well. Also, there's a scene which involves Manav Vij, who is playing a Pakistani army man, and Laal Singh Chaddha, which is quite funny, but at the same time it's quite moving in its own way. These are the scenes which I really liked in the film. And talking about the performances, I really liked some of the performances in the film. Certainly, Mona Singh was extremely convincing as Laal Singh Chaddha's mother. Her steely resolve, also her tenderness towards Lal, it was actually very touching. Manav Vij, he's an able performer. He has time and again proved that, and this film is no exception. Here he is in his elements. He has given his best shot. As Muhammad Bhai, Manav Vij has done an extremely commendable job. Chaitanya Kineni is fair. Kareena Kapoor Khan, in the post-interval portion, she is pretty good. Regarding the leading man, regarding his performance, I'll come to that later. Uh, there are a few shots, there are a few hat tips, like a hat tip to how Shah Rukh Khan developed his famous gesture is quite commendable, and it brings a smile on the audience's face. And overall, if one hasn't seen Forrest Gump, he or she will definitely like this film. It has this likable and adorable quality to it. Now, coming to the not so good parts of the movie, I didn't find any soul in the movie overall. It lacked a soul. It lacked that connect which one would like to feel with this kind of a film. There's no emotional connect. There's no emotional association with the ongoings in the film. That is one major demerit in the film. Besides that, I also didn't like the placement of some humor, like the humor of what Chaitanya Kineni wants to sell when he goes back from the army. And now I come to the most disappointing part of the entire film, and that is sadly Amir Khan's performance. Now, Amir Khan is an extremely able performer. We have seen many films in the past where he has carried an entire film on his shoulder. But what we see in the first half of this film is Amir Khan again donning the mannerisms, the body language, the same wide-eyed gesture of his film PK, which released in 2014. And at times it feels as if we are watching PK Part 2. And that's extremely disappointing, considering that these two characters are extremely different from each other. So there was no point in Amir repeating the same mannerisms or same gestures. Yes, the character develops some depth. Amir tries to make the performance a bit more laudable and acceptable when his character grows a little older, when he gains a bit of maturity, and he meets Karina's character Rupa again in his course of life. Also, his body language and gestures when he is traveling by train and narrating his life's incident to his fellow co-passengers is quite admirable. But considering Amir Khan's standards, the performance falls way short. Technically, the film is pretty good. The cinematography is good. Editing, as I said, could have been much more sharper. Production design is quite laudable, especially in where they showed the time frame of 1980s and 1990s. So costume and production design on the whole is quite commendable. VFX, well, I didn't like the de-aging effect much, especially on Amir Khan and Shah Rukh Khan in that one scene. So I think the kind of budget Laal Singh Chaddha had, they could have easily used a much more sophisticated software for de-aging the characters. That's what I felt while watching the film. Laal Singh Chaddha overall, I would say, is a disappointment, especially if you compare this film with other Amir Khan Productions films such as Tare Zameen Par or Lagaan. But if you see it independently, if you don't compare it with its far superior Hollywood counterpart, it's definitely a one-time watch. You can watch it with your family and just about like it. So that was my take on Laal Singh Chaddha. If you have liked my review, don't forget to like, share and subscribe my channel, and looking forward to meet you again with another review of a web series or a film very soon. Take care, ciao, bye bye.